One's ready. Go!
Hey everybody, before we hop into this next episode with Kai Cook of Deep End Fitness Vermont, head on over to drinkhoist.com. Use the promo code ONESREADY. They just released a new flavor that's got all kinds of patriotism all over it. Red, white, and blue stars. And portion of the proceeds go to Folds of Honor, which is a great charitable organization that are helping our veterans out. You can buy Hoist from drinkhoist.com, but you can also find them in Safeways, HEBs, commissaries all around the globe. You don't need to worry about going to the website if you don't want to, but if you want to let them know that we sent you, use the promo code ONESREADY and get yourself a discount. Now, we'll hop on over to Kai Cook. She is the coach and owner and instructor over at Deep End Fitness Vermont. She's got a massive background in physical fitness, snowboarding, CrossFit. Like, she was a high level CrossFit person. Um, we we hit a whole bunch of different stuff. And then I got a little bit ranty as well, which kind of happens from time to time. Then we hit some technical difficulties, so you'll notice a kind of break towards the end. But hopefully we were able to put a bow on it and really show you what Deep End Fitness Vermont is all about and what the goodness that Kai Cook is out there doing. So enjoy. Thank you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in the team room, just me today. However, well, it's not just me, let's be honest here. But we've got Kai Cook from Deep End Fitness Vermont. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Deep End Fitness, or DEF, or whatever we want to call it, because there's all kinds of different acronyms out there. Like, what are you guys doing up there? Because, Vermont, it's a little cold. You're already wearing a beanie and a hoodie, and you're inside. So, it's January, so I already know it's really, really cold up there.
Yep. Definitely some snow up here. Deep End Vermont, or DEF VT, we had to kind of do things a little bit differently than those in San Diego or in Vegas. We tried it the same way. We tried to do it, every week and offering it to the community. And there's definitely some diehards, but launching that kind of model in the smallest, the least populated state wasn't the easiest thing in the world, because
is it the least populated
that's what I had heard, and I did not even know that after being there. But I felt it, yeah, for sure. When you have a business, you feel it real quick. But it really taught me that people are super into being outdoors, but they prefer the water to be frozen generally. They like to, ice fish and, skating, hockey, stuff like that. So as soon as we asked people to go in the water and under, there a lot of people weren't super into that. So I understand. But where we did start to realize what people wanted and the community was really searching for is our kids program, which we teach babies and toddlers how to be safe in the water. We teach them drown proofing and water confidence, which is amazing. Didn't know that market was there, and all of a sudden our kids program is just filling up, and it's the coolest thing in the world, especially to hear when when I train our first responders, even they will come to us and say, like, I know I have a childhood trauma from, someone holding me under or playing too hard or something like that. So we're seeing that in kids come to us where they've been messed up from like other kids lessons programs, or just being out with friends, and then they come and train with us, and within a month they're completely different, let alone a couple months. So that's definitely what we do with them, is we teach them how to be like little mini DEF athletes. So they're running the brick underwater, they're blowing air into the bucket and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we did that, and then we got into tactical athletes. So we train the fire departments and their academies. And then we also moved into military, so active and veterans. And that's where, for myself, I really take that part. So I have other instructors that take on the other aspects, but that's where I've really gotten into supporting veterans and a lot of mainly people transitioning out of the military.
Yeah, like let's dive in on the kid one real quick, because I have a connection with that. I mean, my dad threw me in the water, or I say threw me. We were in the pool and the beach like a lot. And he took me in from a very early age. I did the same thing with my kids. my oldest, I had her in the water, I don't know, probably 9 weeks old, 10 weeks old. And then my son was even, yeah, my son was even earlier. I think he was 3 weeks old
Yeah.
by the time I had him in the pool. And, it's one of those things where kids, especially, newborns and infants, they're natural
Yeah.
swimmers. They will naturally hold their breath. They enjoy being in the water.
100%.
And there's something magical seeing a newborn just hanging out in the water, being able to roll over, save themselves,
Hmm.
catching breath, relaxing, floating.
Yep.
And that's awesome that you guys are taking that on.
Yeah. Isn't that fun? Like if you ever really want to mess with people, you have your baby in the water and flip them over and people freaking out. But yeah,
Oh yeah, you will get some
oh yeah.
looks. People are just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I cannot believe that you're doing
Yep.
it. It's so irresponsible." And you're like, "Dude, I am teaching my kid how to save
Exactly.
themselves." Like,
Exactly.
and instead of, because how many adults are out there now that are just like, "Oh yeah, I don't get in the pool, I
Yep.
don't get in the ocean,
Yep.
I don't know how to
Yep.
swim." So we'll cover that
Yes,
here in
we
a
will.
little bit. But yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Go
no.
for it.
Yeah, it's a great way to test your resilience and judgment, putting your kids in the water and watching people just judge you right away. And it's like, huh, okay, you're judging me for, like you said, like a life-saving tactic right here. But yeah,
Right.
I was like you. My dad got me in the water very early, but he literally did throw me in. He threw me, just shot put me out of the boat. And I was in a life jacket. I remember I was so small. It's like the little, piece that goes in between, so like you can't really fall out of the
Yeah.
life jacket. So I was very small. And I still remember to this day, I came up, like I was making bubbles under the water because I was crying. And I like came up and was like, "Wah," freaking out. And I just remember him looking at me and he's like, "You're fine. You're fine." And I remember thinking like, I guess I am. And I remember this day still, like the mountains behind him and everything. And I was like, I guess I'm fine. Okay. And from that day on, I was fine. I always just bobbed along in the water. And I actually, one time I got in the water probably within that year and I felt like I was fine. And I just started floating away. My parents didn't even notice. Awesome job on their part. And our dog, which was a retriever, noticed, started barking, and ran down the beach and swam in, circled me until I grabbed his tail and he pulled me in. And from that day on, he never left my side. I think he was like, "You guys are not up to par, so I'm going to sit with her." But he was my buddy from then
That's
on
awesome.
out. Yeah. So I've always kind of considered, like certain retrievers to have like as our mascot when we create a training center to have on the side of the pool. So but yeah, it was fantastic learning how to swim at that early age. I think that's incredibly important for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna sound super judgy of me, but like it breaks my heart whenever I go to a pool or I go to the ocean or something like that and I see floaties on
Yes.
people and I'm like,
Yes.
or on people, but mainly kids, and you're like, ah,
Yes.
you and whether it's Deep End Fitness Vermont or any of the Deep End Fitness that are doing kids programs,
Mhm.
or there's another one out there. I don't remember the acronym, but it's another acronym, and teaching kids how to save themselves
Yes.
and float and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's like, dude, for a couple $100 in a couple of visits, it's only a couple visits
100%.
to the pool.
Yeah.
You can take and build confidence and life-saving tactics that'll carry on forever. And I remember, my son, whenever, you'd bundle him
Mhm.
up, and I kind of screwed him over, like he knows it, and I totally acknowledge it. But in order to pass some of those classes, you gotta be fully clothed
Mhm.
and with a jacket,
Mhm.
right? And shoes and everything like that. And in case, you happen to be walking and you fall, you gotta have that weight of wet clothing on you.
Yeah.
And so, he's floating, he's turning around, he's swimming to the side, he's out of breath. And he's like 2, 3, maybe, you know,
Yep.
and he and I had one of those one of those fleece
Oh
jackets
my
on.
God.
So it just really, yeah,
You didn't give
so
him
it
a
just really
break.
weighed him down. And he's huffing and puffing, but he's relaxed,
Yeah.
he's chilled. And I think, so I'm gonna link it here, but I think not only does that kind of environment and that kind of training setting set them up for being able to save themselves, but it also helps them remain calm in other stressful
Exactly.
situations, and makes them resilient, and even taking it even further will give them perspective when they go a really bad situation or a stressful situation. They go, well, I can breathe. I can do some breathing exercises real quick. Sometimes it's as quick as five
Totally.
seconds,
Yep.
five
Hmm.
second breathe
Hmm.
thing, just to like, okay, gather my senses. All right, I'm good to go.
Yep.
Now I can go in.
100%.
Like, I think all that's
I
important.
think it's really important. And you remind me of the mother of, oh my gosh, Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson. I read a bunch of his books, and his mom would like boot him out of the car at a very young age, under 10, well under 10, maybe 6. And she's like, make your way home. And they were like, half mile away or whatever. And he's like, well, I don't quite know where we're going. And she's like, you'll figure it out. And he'd get home, or she would wake him up in the middle of the night and put him, I think he was a teenager, young teenager, and got him on his bike, gave him a backpack full of some food and water, and said, here's a map, here's where your uncle lives. And like by car, it was a good half hour away. And she's like, I expect you there by sunrise. So she's like, get out. And I think nowadays that would definitely get us thrown in jail. And yet
Oh yeah, it's child services
100%,
right off the bat.
100%. But look at him. He's a billionaire, and he's super confident, and he constantly exposes himself to things that would normally make people freak out, and he loves it. So he's built that resiliency in him. That level of grit is undeniable.
Yeah.
And I think that every kid needs that again. So I know we're trying to make our way into elementary and middle and high schools, so that whether it's dry land or we have a specific, like quarterly pool session or something like that, I'm just recognizing, even in our own kids, who my husband and I are both athletes, I'm recognizing a difference in them. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's time to throw you in the water. It's time to, make you guys work for some things, much more. I keep telling them that I wish they grew up in the 80s, because we were
Yeah.
we were a bunch of
My
thugs
my
right
daughter
there.
says the same thing. My daughter says the same thing. I wish I was in the 80s or a
Yep,
90s kid.
yep, 100%. Yeah, yeah, we were lucky.
Yeah. The weird thing about that is, oh man, we're totally getting to parenting now.
Yep.
Is um we know how we grew up, right? In the 80s and 90s, and for I guess it's really millennials, right? We knew how we grew up. You didn't come back to the street lights and all that kind of stuff, and there was no phone, no tracking, nothing like
Yep.
that. Why did we then turn around and raise them differently?
Exactly. I've been asking myself the
Why
same
did we do
thing.
that?
Yeah. Why were they not products of us?
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. The only thing I can think of is this whole culture of being like gentle parenting, not saying there's anything bad. But when I look at,
Oh, I'll say it. Don't
okay,
worry
good.
about it.
Because when I look at my kids, I'm like, my sister likes, I mean, our kids are amazing. They're really, really incredible people. But they're feral. I mean, and they're designed that way,
Yeah,
like we design them that way. And
free range
yeah,
chickens.
exactly. We have 3 girls. We have to make them that. And we just moved from Vermont to New Jersey, and not to put a bad stamp on New Jersey, but the girls were homeschooling. We traveled a bunch. My husband is retired Cirque du Soleil artist, so we've toured around multiple countries, living all sorts of different countries, mainly Europe, but. So they homeschool. They've been on so many different, international flights. Like we can't remember. We have to sit down and write it down. So when they started going to school here, they came back and they're like, my middle one said, there's nothing wrong if someone's intellectually, like they're lagging. If they're not so good in math or science or whatever, I will never judge them. But I will judge the absolute fuck out of them by being emotionally unintelligent. Like I can't have a conversation with them, if I'm looking at 5 girls that are all looking the same in their same sweatpants and sweatshirts and slippers because of this culture, to answer your question, I feel like we've gone into this super comfort culture where like for us, it was like, I couldn't wait to get home to like watch a movie, because I was so dog tired that it was like, I got my shower, I got my food, and oh my God, I'm going to watch this movie. I'm going to make it like 20 minutes, but I'm going to get it. And like now it's
Yeah.
like, it's all comfort and no grit. And I think that's kind of the problem there. And I'm not sure, to answer your question, I don't know where we lost that for them, but it's definitely taken hold where it's all about, being as comfortable as possible. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think you have to work for it. So that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it's probably, and I think there's a righteous thing in this
Mm.
that, we want our kids to have a better life than we
Yeah.
did, right? So I think that is where that comes from. So I don't think it's malicious or comes from a bad place, because we're like, well, I want my kids to have a better life than I
Yep.
did, but at the same time, now I'm missing those things, the things that made me, that whether they're good, bad, ugly,
Exactly.
whatever it was,
Exactly.
those things that helped, shape and mold me, I have now neglected my kids from that, or
Yes.
I've taken them away from that. So which sucks. And to your point about not the pajamas and slippers wearing to school, like, but at the same time, like, to stick up for that generation, I see plenty of people my generation,
Yep.
I'm technically a millennial, um, are doing the same thing, dropping their kids off to school wearing
Yeah. Yeah.
pajamas. Like,
Yeah.
man,
Exactly.
that's just straight up
Yeah,
lazy.
totally, 100%. Yeah, and I'm curious. Have you noticed that in the military? Have you noticed a shift from just straight grit to now there's more? There's one side of the token is there's more awareness and more mental and emotional awareness, and sustainability for the whole entire body. But is there the other side of it too, where it's harder to lead? Something like that. Have you noticed anything?
So the changes I've noticed is but I come from a different kind of world, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I deal with um, airmen, new airmen on a daily basis. At the same time, the organization that I belong to, or soon leaving, is a highly trained, highly selected
True. Yeah.
organization. So like and I've spent my entire life in special operations. So I've spent 25 years in that kind of world. So I have a skewed view of it.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, I am hopeful for the next generation. I love the next generation I think they're definitely more intelligent, more educated
Mm.
than I ever was. Like, they are more capable than I ever was. Part of that's the training that we do. Part of that's their mentality.
Mm.
They're they're hungry for knowledge. They want to get after it. Um, are it we inherently teach, or I say teach grit, because you can't really teach grit, but you can set up situations that enable somebody to you know um, pull through
Yeah.
and get better. Um,
Mm.
so I'm hopeful. I'm I like the next generation. There is some stuff that is a bit complainy, but at the same time, if they're not complaining, then that means they don't care and they've already written you off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll take the kind of complaining.
Yep.
But if I look back, we were definitely complaining too. So it's hard to be
It's
upset
true.
about it.
It's true. I do. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. I remember one time I was a swimmer growing up, and I remember being in the pool down in California in Mission Viejo. So they have this amazing complex. And there's the dive pool, and there's the national team pool, and there's my pool in between. And I remember watching them, and they warmed up, excuse me, with a 4,000 IM. So that's 1,000 per stroke. And I was looking, I'm like, holy crap, like what is wrong with these guys? Thankfully they had fins, but still 1,000 butterfly with fins
That's a
is
long
still,
that's a long way
it's still horrible.
for a
Yeah,
warm up.
horrible. And I remember looking at them in awe, and I said something to my coach, like, that's just amazing. Could we ever do that? And, about the same age. And I remember him saying, you guys don't work that hard. And I was like, we don't? Like, I didn't know that, like, I was like, we don't work that hard? Because I feel like I'm going to die every time we leave this pool. And that was the biggest shift. I mean, he was a punk. He was kind of rude how he said it, but like, it shifted my mentality of how I perceive stress and how I perceive myself within it and my abilities. Because I thought, I was working my ass off. And I realized, oh, there's a whole nother level to this. And then there's another level, and there's more and more and more. So that was, thank God I had witnessed that. To follow that, I wish that I had advocated for myself and said, well, then show me how to get to that level.
Willing work
Yeah,
though.
like I
Yeah.
am willing for
So
sure.
man, okay, so you bring that up, and you've got a difference, like just on this podcast alone, right? You got me, Aaron, and Trent,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll. So I'm like the coach, right? Not your coach. I'm just the kind of coach. Like I I try and build everybody up. I don't talk negative that often. Um, I just, yeah, you can do it, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Aaron and Trent
Mm-hmm.
though, and Aaron probably more abrasively than Trent. Trent's more sarcastic, whereas Aaron's straight up abrasive about it. Um, they are like, dude, don't even try. You won't make it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
which there's some beauty in that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because and I totally acknowledge and recognize it, because that's who I am. I'm like, yeah, man, you can do it if you really truly want it. You can
Yeah.
do it. Whereas Aaron and Trent are like, dude, don't even bother because you're not going to make it. You're not working that hard for it. Kind of like
Yeah.
what your coach did. And so somebody will either go, it's almost a switch. They'll either go, fuck you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting after it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to tell me, you're definitely not going to gatekeep and tell me that I can't do something. Or like yeah, man, you're right. That attrition rate's 89% fail out or quit. So yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I won't make
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and you're like, so what do you, as a person, what do you need to hear? And everybody's different.
Exactly. And I can say, when I was younger, um, I wish I had the, I guess, the maturity to know that okay, a good example is I wanted to be a rescue swimmer coming out of high school. I was actually thinking of USC to play water polo. But I went there that day and I was literally like sick to my stomach. I was like, I don't think I can go here. I don't want to go here. I was going to play water polo, go to pre-med, and it all sounded and looked great. And I just thought, this is just not for me. So a
Mm.
friend of mine, his dad was in the Air Force, and he was like, you should go into rescue swimming, because I was a lifeguard in Laguna Beach and I was a swimmer, water polo, and all that stuff. And I immediately was so intrigued by it. And my mind told me I couldn't do it because I saw them in action. I
Mm.
didn't see what it took for them to get there. I saw them in action and thought, there's no fucking way. And I believed it. Unfortunately, I don't like to live in regret. That's one of them. That's like, that was just immaturity right there.
It burns a little
It
bit.
does, because I now know, being a coach, being an athlete, what it takes to build, and the beauty of that journey is so incredible. I kind of like the journey more now than anything else. But yeah, I wish I hadn't believed that one.
Yeah.
So I think that makes me a much better coach, because I'm like you, where I'm very, very kind and supportive and positive, because I want people to feel good about themselves. But then when I have a certain group, like the police academy, or I mean the fire academy, where they don't have time for that, we've got 20 weeks or 16
Yep.
weeks to knock it out. I will, depending on their kind of collective personality, like I'll be dropping bombs, I'll be telling them to get their shit together. Like I will be very, very supportive. And then once in a while it's like, no, you're not getting out of the pool until we do 12 bobs straight, and like, I mean, we
Yeah.
had one a couple of years ago, we had a group that were like, you got to get 11 straight. And bobs, at 12 feet in the end of the pool is it can be stressful.
It's tough.
And these are not like swimmers that come to us. These are guys that are looking to be firefighters. So the fact that they're adding deep end to their academy, they're like, what? I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, but it's fantastic
It's
though.
it's amazing. It's so great on their behalf. Like their wellness program is incredible. But yeah, they made it to 10 and they had to start all over. 2 guys cried. And it was like, that's okay. We're going to fucking do this, and you are not going to stop. And if we have to keep going and it eats up the entire day of training, we just have to go. And it got to this point where, kind of like that movie Miracle, where it's like, again, again, again,
Mhm.
you just see them, like all the layers of like ego and expectation and kind of everything else. And they just start to fade away until there's just nothing but flow, or they've zoned out and they've just given in. But at some point they finally got together and they realized, like, I have so many more gears. I was really failing and thinking that was hard, but I had 10 more gears that I could have gone to. So that's the stuff I love. And that's what I see in the veterans when I start working with them, is especially with people transitioning. And I know I haven't been there, but I know that it's community, of course, is one, and probably the most important thing to keep that positivity, but also of having a structure. So like if we can go in and we do our dryland clinics or we do these retreats with people, if we can show them like don't give up who you are. If there's trauma, if there's TBIs or PTSD, that's okay, because we're going to use our medium and our method to work for you. So you're going to get in the pool and you're going to somatically start releasing things. And I don't want you to talk about it. You don't have to tell me anything, and I prefer you not to. But you're going to start to just process. And I just want you to process this out. And the whole group knows that if someone starts crying, like totally okay. If someone starts getting mad, it's okay. Like they're just going to process, and we're not going to do any sort of talk therapy. Not to say that's bad. It's just, we're going to let the body take care of all of it, because it's already kept the score. So we might as well already clean it out. And then they get out and it's like, so this is what you can do for the rest of your life. You can be intense. You can take the level of training that you guys have put in, 20 plus years. That doesn't have to stop. So just use that to your advantage, but use proper breathing and proper mechanics and proper mentality. And let's see now where you go. And because I hear so many people saying like, well, I did this in the military and I did that, or I have this injury, whatever. I don't know what to do with my life. And like, so we work with like Big Fish Foundation or PB Abate, where they really work on reducing suicide. And it's shocking to me, because I'll go to these retreats and I just see all these amazing, incredible, supportive, highly functioning people and athletes. And I'm looking at them like, you guys are dealing with this? Like, you guys are struggling? To an untrained eye, I would have never seen that. It's like, oh my God, you guys are all just so wonderful and amazing and just hugging each other. What does somebody look like who's really struggling? Because this is what I'm seeing and I'm shocked. And then they start opening up and it's like, oh, you guys are all
They all
damn
are.
good at hiding it. Like, oh, okay. And it was, and what we've seen is like the fireside chats or the breath work and we went to Montana, we did some training in the water, and we expected it to be nice. It was like end of summer, it was going to be really nice. We were going to get in the pool. By the time that we got in the water, it had been raining for about 4 days. So the water dropped, I'm thinking maybe high 50s. So it wasn't quite a cold plunge, but it wasn't comfortable.
But it's yeah.
So, I mean, I had some like special operators that were what we called the kiddie pool. They wouldn't even get past their kneecaps. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I know you've done worse than this. At least put your face
Stop
in
being
the
a
water.
bitch.
Yeah,
Get
I
in
was like,
there.
at least bend over and put your face in the water for this breath hold. And so they did. And we got some pictures. It was great. It was fantastic. But there,
I hope you shame them.
I did. I was like, you guys know I love you, but
Because
what the
there should
fuck?
not be going, ooh, I don't know if I want to get in.
Get
You
in the
should get in
water.
the water.
It's going to ice all your injuries anyway. You're fine. But it was, it was fantastic. And that's what I live for. Like, I've completely shifted where I kind of leave the rest of my team to take care of our Vermont location. And I go around the country and I'm like, who's got a retreat? Let's go. Cause that's where it's at for me.
That's awesome. Now, is that involved in any kind of like, is there a name to this program that you're doing?
It's under, Deep End Vermont umbrella. But
Okay.
yeah, so like Big Fish, I saw them, I think HWPO had posted something about the foundation that they're supporting that month or that quarter, I'm not sure. And I looked into them like, that sounds cool. That's just a cool call sign, cool name. And so I looked into them and thought that was so absolutely amazing what they were doing. And so I basically like cold called them and just said, are you guys open to bringing in someone to do, some breath work? But I'm not like yoga breath work. I'm talking like in the action, calm in the chaos kind of thing. And I didn't realize I was talking to Brian Shantosh or Tosh. And I looked into him afterwards and realized, holy shit, this guy is super legit. And I had no idea. So it was a little intimidating. So thank God I had looked into it after I had talked to him. But he said, I love what you're doing and come on down. So I joined him down in Texas, and we're going down again in March. And it's like a 4-day retreat where they bring active, I think there's a few active, but mostly veterans and a +1. And they just get to go through the breath work. They get to go through a Trident mindset goes there and helps them with kind of just
Mm.
sorting out their life and applying it. And they have a great app as well. There's there's just everything. So we just go in and kind of just help people pick and choose kind of a la carte. And how can we serve you? How can we make things better? Because you guys already did all the hard work and you served us. So we're going to turn around and do whatever we can for you. And I had one guy, his wife or his fiance at the time was like, comes over to me and she's like, I really want to do your breath work, but my husband wants, or my fiance wants to do the wine tasting because they could choose. And this year I was like, don't let them choose. Like they got to do them all, you know, including my stuff. And so he comes over and he's like, why the hell do I want to learn how to breathe? I already breathe. And I was like, why the hell do you need to drink wine? You can have that anytime. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay. And he sits down. He's like, okay, sell me on this. And I was like, I'm not really sure why I have to sell you on breathing because, again, we do it all the time. But do you breathe properly? And he's like, well, I don't know what that is. And I said, well, if you breathe out of your mouth, even 50% of the day, you don't know how to breathe. And he's like, okay, we will see you this
Well,
afternoon.
yeah.
And it was
Oh,
the
boy.
coolest thing in the world. I think they were probably the most profound testimony because of what he experienced and kind of his traumas coming up and hers as well. She grew up Catholic and stopped crying 15 years ago. She had not cried once, just for all the shame and the kind of stuff that she went through. And she was crying like a baby afterwards and she was shaking. And I thought, oh my God, I've killed her. Like she's shaking, she's seizing. What did I do? You know? And
I've actually broken
yeah,
her.
I was like, I didn't know this was possible, but oh wow. And I'm like, just nope, just hold, just have faith. It's okay. And I'm just watching her shake it all out. And I realized, oh, yep, she's doing somatic release right now. She is the epitome of what that looks like. And
Mm.
most incredible people ever, so happy and just joyous after that, and have texted me often, you know, like doing our breathing. So it's,
That's
you know, to
awesome.
me, it just seems like I can't believe we're making this much of a difference with just teaching how to breathe properly. And it's not just properly at home when everything's easy. How do you breathe properly when shit's really hitting the fan? Like that's the most important, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and to the first responders and that kind of stuff, it's like everybody wants to talk about first responders and showing up to an accident. Like I'll just use probably the most common is an accident
Mm-hmm.
scene, right? Um, you and especially here in Vegas, like we have way more than I'd like to
Yeah.
admit, because of all the tourists coming in. You know, it's a party city, so there's a lot of DUIs and drunk drivers. And recently, there's been a lot of wrong way drivers on the highway. So,
Whoa.
for whatever reason, I don't know, but anyway, I digress. So you never know if you're going to be the first on the scene
Mm-hmm.
to somebody who needs
Yep.
help. And you know, I don't want to say that the people are so quick to pull out the phone and just start, filming when as somebody is in help, they need you. Or even if it's just to get them over, let's take them out of the cold. Let's get them in your car, get them warmed up, check on them, just talking to them. I
Exactly.
mean, you see something, an event like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it can put you into a downward spiral where you just I don't know what to do, and guess what? You're the only show in town. You've got to be able to execute something.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you're not trained to put on a tourniquet or
Mm-hmm.
plug a hole
Mm-hmm.
or you're not going to put yourself in a car to pull somebody out when it's on fire. Like I get that. Not everybody's able to do that, but at some point you've got to be able to get through this to be value added in that situation, especially if you're only the only one.
Exactly.
And if attending something like Deep End Fitness or just knowing how to do some basic breath work get you to that point,
Mm-hmm.
like help yourself, but then also help others too.
Exactly. 100%. That's so well put. We should probably put that as our tagline. um, it's 100%. I mean, I know that Deep End, you know, was obviously started by Marine Raiders and it from their training, so that it clearly works, or we wouldn't be doing it. And at first, it was used for like pro athletes and just to help them, you know, just take a major step up. And then it really hit the scene as like this big fitness craze, which it still is for sure. I mean, you're burning
Mhm.
1,500 calories easily in a session, which is amazing. I'll go to CrossFit and I'm like, 450? Are you freaking kidding me? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah, you
legit
do
left
you
my
do an
soul
hour in the
there.
pool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you do an hour in the pool, and it's going to set your mind
Yes,
right.
100%, 100%. Like I feel the same way after deep end sessions as I do skydiving. Like it's that to that level. But what I saw, at least with our location and a few others, is that when we take it to really take it to people that are operating on a very high level, like such as yourself and people that have been kind of like in action for a long time and their nervous system is just like operating on a whole nother level. That's where I like to work, because I like to see like how far can we continue to wedge that out, like clean out anything in between, but continue to create a higher and higher resistance level. That's where I see it is so phenomenal, because it's one thing for people to come and get in the water and just like it, whether they're, they can be terrible at swimming. They can, they can not even know how to swim and they're still going to get a great workout. We're going to put them in the shallow end or whatever they need to do. We can adapt to anything. But when we can take, let's say PJs, you guys probably never want to get in the damn pool ever again. But like if we throw them in the pool, we can still do things that are fun and exciting and still healing. You guys don't have to swim 5 miles. You can swim a little bit, and we're going to work on, like, I don't know, how many times does it take to go down and blow into this bucket and have it come up. So it's like a little bit more of a competition. So it's like we
Yeah.
can take any level and make it not only fun for them, but all of a sudden they're feeling differently. And I'm shocked at one time a week, their personality actually starts changing. So when I see like the fire
Mhm.
department where there's like where they have to come consistently for so much time, I'll notice about the 3-week mark that the personality changes, which I still blows my mind. I think that's just absolutely phenomenal.
After 3 weeks, that's
It
wild.
is, it is. And they get to the point where that's like their favorite part of the week. So if people are consistent about it, it's really interesting to see how they start handling stressors differently. So like about 2 weeks ago, my husband calls me, FaceTimes me, and it's dark, and he's kind of, I can tell he's like hanging upside down a little bit, which is not surprising. He's a gymnast. So I'm like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? He's upside down in his car. It had hit ice and he flipped 3 times and he's hanging upside down, seatbelts holding him. And he's like, I've been in an accident. And I just thought, thank God, I calmed myself, because immediately my mind is like, what the fuck are you doing calling me first? I was like, no.
Yeah. Why? Get yourself out of the
Yeah.
car.
I was like, I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna not be a hypocrite right now. What do I need to do? So I just took
Yeah.
a breath, and a physiological sigh real quick, and I was like, okay, send me a ping where you are and call the police, and then we'll be there. And I hung up, and my daughter's like, what's going on? And I told them, I said, well, Dad's been in an accident, but he's okay. He was talking, everything's fine. And they just lost it. And it was like, yes, they're younger, but like you could clearly see the difference in training. Whereas like the
Yeah.
more the stress, the better for me, and any stress for them, and they like lose their shit. So that's what I'm like on a warpath now for, is how many people can we help across the nation where they can handle stress like an absolute boss, and that they feel
Yeah.
better afterwards. They're not just destroyed after a situation. So I know that sounds, everyone's kind of aware of that and they hear it, but who's out there practicing that? That's what I really want to know and support.
Well, I think part of it is I think most people recognize it. It's acknowledging it though, and we and man, I didn't want to. I'm not going to get. This is not a political statement, right? But what we did in 2019, 2020 with locking kids up and making everybody scared, we induced
Oh
anxiety
yeah.
that was not required.
Nope.
You had the safest
I'm going to pause really quick
yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
plug this
You
in.
had the safest, yeah, of course. You had the safest demographic out there that we were putting masks on, locking them up, taking them away from all of their friends, taking them away from everything that they know, not letting them play outside. I mean, depending on the state you were in and that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
All right, everybody. More technical issues, but it's cool. We're working through it. The biggest thing we want to do is like, where can everybody find you, and how can they get signed up, and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. So at Deep End, Vermont, on Instagram is where we do everything. So we're always posting like the next clinic we're doing, or the kids' lessons. We have pop-up training up there. It doesn't happen as much as other locations, but we have that. And then as far as, booking retreats or clinics, then you just message us and we'll see where you are and when you want it, and we'll create whatever program you guys need to make sure that we're hitting, kind of at every level.
And that's for everything: the kids, first responders, normal, whether it's first responders or not, just normal people that want to come take a deep end fitness clinic.
Yep, they can do that. They can come to us, or I will come out and go to them. So like I have a CrossFit gym down in by Princeton. In a couple weeks, we do clinics out of our own gym in New Jersey. I fly out to Montana or Texas, stuff like that. So it just depends on what people are looking for, and so I'll either come to them or they can come to us, depending on what their needs are.
Dude, you're all over the place.
I kind of like it that way. It's nice.
Yeah, yeah, I dig it too.
Yeah.
It's just it's born or bred into me, or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
especially it's like, where do I want to go next? I think I want to go to the beach. Let's see about booking a clinic out there, and kind of
Yeah.
reach out to some people, and they're like, yes, please come out. Sweet. Okay, we're going to the beach.
And do people need to already know how to swim?
Not at all. That's what's really cool about it. So, I mean, really, the water, we're just using the water as a positive stressor. That's really all it is. So, someone can be a great swimmer, terrible swimmer, or not at all. They don't know how to swim, and we will help them, because we're just using the water as the stressor of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm now out of air. When do I get to breathe? How do I breathe? It does a lot of the heavy lifting for us.
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah, exactly.
I've never felt that before. What is that?
That's that dive reflex kicking in. You're
Yeah.
okay.
Guess what? It too will
Yeah,
pass, and you'll be fine.
exactly. As long as you don't ride the lightning too much, you won't pass out, but you'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, that is definitely right. There is a finite amount of time between that guppying and total blackout. There,
Exactly.
you start to get that very euphoric feeling. You might want to start heading to the surface.
Exactly. That's 100%. I remember when I did my first instructor certification, I had to get my 50-meter underwater. And my I had been very stressed going into it. My dad was very sick. He had passed a few days later. So I was up with him all night, and just he wouldn't stop moving. And so I got up in the morning and I thought, okay, I have all day to recover. It's okay. And then I have the test tomorrow. And I get a call from Don, the co-owner, and he's like, where are you? And the training had started, the warm up. The test was in about 45 minutes, and I was 45 minutes away. I was like, oh my God. And so I'm just flying down the highway, finally get there. I didn't get to warm up or anything like that. And I go to do my 50, and I panicked at the 25. I was like, whoa, oh my God, this is not me. Okay, what's going on? So I just sat there, and Prime, the other co-owner, comes over and he's like, okay, I'm going to get this other girls going through theirs, that you got about 1 minute. So you have 1 minute to recover, get your shit together, and you got to take care of this. And he's like, when I come back, after you go down for the 25, you hit the wall and you come back, eventually you're going to see my toes, and you just, in your peripheries, that's all I want you to do is keep your face down. When you see my toes, you just bring it in. I was like, cool, okay, I got something to look at. And I did. I come around, and I'm already thinking like, wow, I'm really panicking. I definitely am stressed from, the nights before.
Yeah.
And I saw his toes, and I just thought, okay, like I knew I was at least 15 yards or 15 meters away. I was like, he's going to have to peel me off the bottom of this pool because I'm engaged. Like I'm going for it, and whatever it takes. And that's all it took, is that little mental tactic of just like, okay, I see his feet. He's fine. He's got me. My buddy is there with me, so I can do this. But I came up and I was like, there's some stars. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever experienced the funky chicken?
I have
That?
not, but I'm sure
Yeah.
you
Oh
guys
yeah.
have experienced that. Oh, that's gotta, I know your body went numb, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I tell you what, after you pass out, when you wake up, it is like the best sleep you have ever had.
Isn't that
You were
amazing?
it's it's like a hard reset,
Yeah.
and you were just so relaxed and euphoric and recovered and well rested. I mean, you're not probably not really recovered, but you feel like it, and you're just wow, like
Yeah.
what happened, but two is like I feel great.
That is it's so amazing how our bodies are designed to, to take care of us when something like that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've not had that experience. I mean, like, bittersweetly, I guess I could say, thank God, because I don't, it sounds scary, but at the same time, sounds amazing.
yeah, and I don't know. I'm sure that building elite fitness and some of the other folks that talked about the drowning that happened in at the CrossFit Games. That kind of stuff is very unfortunate, and I'm the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, and it's not to throw shade at CrossFit
Mhm.
or whatever, right? But the one thing that Deep End Fitness provides is a whole lot of structure, a whole lot of control, and a whole lot of safety mechanisms built into it. So you're not just out there doing a 50, where there's 10 people doing 50-meter underwaters at the same time, and there's one person on the deck watching. It doesn't
Exactly.
work like that. You're in a very controlled, very safe environment. If you do happen to pass, excuse me, if you do happen to pass out, like there, you are going to get pulled up so fast. And
Exactly.
guess what? Your body will automatically start to try and start breathing and revive itself
Hmm.
without anybody else doing anything to you. It's not like you're sucking in a whole bunch of water. You're already holding your breath. Your body will continue to hold your breath. You may intake a little bit of water, but you get up to the deck and they pull you up recovery position. Your body will kickstart itself again. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
incredible.
It is super phenomenal. And you're right. I mean, we definitely have, that's what we're known for. Like, our safety ratings are just
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. I mean, it's the challenge with us, the reason why we don't have more locations, and they're always growing. I mean, it's unbelievable how many locations are now compared to when I started. But the biggest challenge for us is managers generally at pools that look at us and go, "Oh no, you guys aren't safe. We don't want to have
yeah,
you here." And we're like, I know I played water polo. You have a water polo club. There's no way they have a higher safety rating than we do. Like, there's no way. Like, I have a chip molar still to this day from water polo. Like, no way. And so it's very hard to start to get them to realize that no, we're the leaders in safety.
yeah.
The amount of layers of safety we have with our buddy system, and we watch each other like a hawk. Like, just like you said, no one's going for anything without a buddy next to them. And they're also definitely not going to go for like a 50-meter underwater unless they've built up to even a 25. And once they build up to a 25, then they learn how to hit the wall and turn around and come up. We go in small increments, and
Yep.
because they're already stressed out enough, we're not going to take them to the point of well, one, not coming back, but we want them to learn that it's
Bad
the
business
small
model.
steps. Yeah, exactly. We want those small business, those small micro steps. That's the most important thing to success, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just one of those things that you gotta highlight. Like we struggle too. Whenever you guys are looking at new pool areas and stuff like that, like we're holding an event with Guardian Grit, who's
Mm.
another active duty PJ here in Vegas. Um, over a weekend, and we had to call around to quite a few pools
Yeah.
to get them to be on board with it because one, they don't want to take the risk. They think that it's just what you see on TV, or on social media where it's just a bunch of chaos, and
Hmm.
it's not like that.
Yeah.
Even in those chaos situations, whether you're at Buds at off the um, in the Pacific or something like that, it's still a controlled environment. Believe me,
Exactly.
all these things would be shut down and not allowed, even in the military, if it was not a controlled environment. Now, sometimes things happen. You can't plan for every single event. A lot of the deaths that occur in special operations training is well, at least the assessment and selection type stuff, which doesn't happen very often, but it's usually an undiagnosed heart condition or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas nobody would have known. So if they had put themselves in that kind of stressful environment, wherever, that kind of stuff would have happened. So
Yep.
the safety record for you guys for special operations is really high considering what we're doing.
Exactly, exactly. And that's, so that's like usually what we have to deal with, pools and stuff. And then as far as, people, whether they decide to come to us or not, it's usually, it can be as simple as, I don't want to be in my bathing suit in front of other people. Or it's like, okay, I get it. Or it's I just, why would I get in the water? I already lift, I already run, I already do all these things. Like, why do I need that? And, so that's the biggest thing is it's challenging, at least for me, to explain the benefit of doing something wildly outside of their comfort zone to then show them how much happier they're going to be and how euphoric they're going to be. Like, they're going to turn into, just obsessed about it. But getting them over that line is a little difficult sometimes.
I hate that though. Like, well, I'm already doing this. Why do I need to do that? Why do I? Because you get the same thing with, why do I need to go run? Like,
Mhm.
whatever. And if you have a legitimate reason, that's fine, but not because, oh, I just don't feel like it. Why would I go run outside in the cold when I can run on the treadmill?
Yep.
Because running out in the cold is not necessarily fun, and sometimes you should do things that aren't necessarily fun.
Exactly.
I,
1000%. Yeah.
so I don't know.
Yeah. And
Getting on a soapbox again.
yeah, and to me it's like, well, if standing in front of your peers in a bathing suit is not fun, then that's the very thing you should do. And,
Yeah,
I'm 47 years old. I don't like standing in front of everyone in a bikini coaching, but I got to freaking do it. So it's,
yeah,
we all get out there. And I think it's good for us to shatter our egos wherever we need to.
yeah. And I think that, going back to the bathing suit thing, I think you care, or other people care about themselves more than anybody else. Nobody else is sitting on the edge of the thing going like, dude, like
Exactly.
whether it's good or bad, you know what I mean?
Yep.
They're worried about, they have their own insecurities. They don't, last thing they do is judging you.
Exactly, exactly. We're so busy judging ourselves that we really don't have a
Right.
whole lot of space to do that to anyone else. And that's the biggest thing, I try to teach my, our girls or teenagers, like, no one, not to be mean, but no one really cares about you because they're so absorbed with themselves. So, like, if you can get someone to look up and notice you and have empathy or connect with you, like, phenomenal. But, like, it's because it's not personal. It's because they're just so obsessed with their own insecurities, and that's where I feel like we have so much growth is that if we do have insecurities about something, well, then, like, just dive into it and, really get into that because I know, like, when I was starting CrossFit, I used to be super, super fit. Like, I had a six pack all the time. And then after three kids and perimenopause and stuff, it was like, what the crap is this? What is this down here? Because what's hiding? And I told myself, you know what? When it gets really hot, I'm going to take my shirt off like all the other girls with their sports bras. And I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm a mom. I'm
Yeah.
middle aged, whatever. And that was just like the one rule I had to myself that it was like part of my brain said, no, you're not allowed to take your shirt off because you need to be perfect. You used to be perfect. You need to be that. And the other part's like, well, I am who I am now and I've lived a pretty full life. I need to really get in on that because that's a lot healthier. So I
Yeah.
started doing it. And as long as someone doesn't take a picture, like, I'm pretty good.
All right. So we won't see any of you on social media. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Still a little hard
Okay.
on myself,
Well,
but I'm working on it.
that's all right. We all are, believe me. You know. So I just want to highlight it one more time. Deep in Fitness _VT to find you guys out on Instagram. And then how do they contact, if they don't go through that, how can they contact you directly?
Yeah. Actually, that was our old page. So it's actually Deep
Oh,
End. It's just Deep End Vermont is our Instagram.
okay.
So yeah. One, I'm glad you brought that up because we've had another one and it has not been corrected. But Deep End Vermont is the active one, and then
Okay.
you can always go to deependfitness.com and see our main website, and it's phenomenal. They have a great website, and then that shows all the locations around. So, I mean, every location is just absolutely spectacular. So they don't have to come to tiny little Vermont to get the training if they don't want to.
Awesome. Well, Kai, I do appreciate you joining us. Thanks for doing everything that you're doing. Like, I really want to highlight the kids. I mean, they, what, there's a song, kids are our future. What, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
terrible. I know you know the song. I know the song. I don't remember the words, but like, it's really important that we set them up for a solid path going forward. And I appreciate you doing that. And I appreciate Deep End Fitness Vermont for doing that. And I'm sure there are other programs within the Deep End Fitness ecosystem that are doing it as well. But it's super important. So thanks for doing what you're doing with the kids, first responders, and veterans. And then for everybody else, go out there, check out Deep End Fitness Vermont. And then also go to onesready.com, buy yourself some merch, maybe, or don't. Like, whatever. You do whatever you guys want. All right, we're out here. Later.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.